Hi, it's Monday, March 10th, and we're tracking Cyclone Jude. As it makes landfall this morning in Mozambique, you can see the system spinning here. The most apparent circulation in satellite imagery seems to be right on the coastline in the satellite imagery. And the system, we did luck out with it, as it has not been able to fully take advantage of the environment it's had over the past day. You can see that we do have a sort of cutoff of the deep cloud tops from the center circulation of this band moving into Mozambique. And this is likely the remains of a dry air intrusion we had earlier today. You can kind of see this better if you look at water vapor imagery. We have some clouds down south barely moving off towards the north, highlighting that light to moderate wind shear that we talked about yesterday. And here's that little dry slot that the system is now trying to mix out. It has been trying to mix out for the past several hours. But we talked about how this could happen today and how it could disrupt the system for a few hours. And fortunately, that did occur. This is a microwave pass that we got a long time ago. It was last night, but you can see that the disruption that occurred, and we're still seeing the system try to recover from it this morning. And this has stopped the system from fully rapidly intensifying to, say, a degree like the GFS had shown, but it did still get fairly strong. And this is going to bring lots of strong winds to northeastern Mozambique this morning, but we certainly lucked out in terms of how strong the storm could have gotten. But as the system continues to push inland, the main threat will turn into rainfall. You can see over the next several days, the system will be sitting over Mozambique, and we could be around the landfall spot, seeing rainfall totals get to 300 or 400 millimeters of rainfall. But across much of eastern Mozambique, we could be looking at a wide region of 100 plus millimeters of rainfall, and this could lead to lots of flooding issues in eastern Mozambique. So stay safe in Mozambique as the system does track throughout the week. But of course, the system is not done after landfall. We will be watching for the system to recurve back into the Mozambique channel, and then it becomes a threat to Madagascar again. You can see on this forecast from Mateo, France, quickly regaining tropical storm intensity and nearly becoming a cyclone by the time it makes landfall sometime late this week. And this is the current expectation from most models. You can see on the GFS ensemble that is showing you the upper level winds over the system as the system comes offshore. And this is still a favorable environment. We have a high pressure system just off towards the north and east, and this is in an optimal position because the system will be tracking southeast. So this southeasterly flow aloft will be aligned with that steering vector. So that will result in a fairly low shear environment. Alongside that, we do have a little bit of a trough showing up in modeling here over southern Africa. And we see a bit of what's called a jet streak. That's where you have winds accelerating at the upper levels of the atmosphere. And if a storm like this can get itself developed fairly well and it can tap into this, it can allow the system to intensify significantly. You can see this better if you look at the HAPS model. Again, here's the high pressure system, here's that trough, and here's that jet streak as the system is now coming towards Madagascar. Now, the question for this storm will be, can it get its structure well suited to take full advantage of this jet streak? Now, once it comes offshore, it's going to be very disorganized and very broad. You can see this on the wind field. This is a very broad circulation, and really the circulation it has right now could probably fit inside this eye that the HAP shows. So this could be the limiting factor on how much intensification we see. Models are not screaming strong intensification here, and it does make sense because the system is going to be so broad, so it's going to be more difficult for the system to regain its structure, and alongside that, it's going to be more difficult for the system to strengthen. Alongside that, we'll be watching for potential dry air intrusions. The system may have to deal with that again as it pulls winds off the mountainous terrain from Madagascar. So as of right now, we're not expecting very rapid strengthening, but the system could be approaching cyclone status by the time the system does come into Madagascar. We're looking late this week, Friday or Saturday, for some kind of a landfall here. And this will bring a lot of heavy rainfall with it. Now, some good news potentially. You see this track on the HAPS model coming a little bit south. If we do get the system to come south, this may spare Madagascar from most of the heavy rainfalls. Once this trough continues pushing in, we see more southeasterly shear pushing against the storm. This is going to start shearing off the thunderstorms on this north side. You can see that the north side is very dry, and all of it gets pushed off towards the south and east. So if it does track further south, that could keep most of it away from Madagascar, which we certainly would appreciate because this area did just get hit by Tropical Storm Hyundai a couple of weeks ago, and we really don't need much more rainfall here right now in southern Madagascar. So we'll hope for the best scenario here, but for southwestern Madagascar, I would be keeping an eye on this very closely as, again, we could be seeing the system approach near cyclone intensity by the end of the week. And I'll leave links to the Meteo France website so you can see their current forecasts and a link to Meteo Madagascar so you can get the latest warning information as the system approaches the region. That's all that I've got for today on Jude. I'll have another video sometime later this week once it's closer to emerging off of Mozambique. Stay safe in Mozambique as the system comes through. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.